Hi, today we're going to talk about the Phoenicians. Before we get any further, I want to apologize. I'm quite sick, so I might cough or have a strange pause in the middle. If my voice sounds weird at a moment, that's why. Anyways, let's move on. Starting with geography, Phoenicia is going to be located on the eastern Mediterranean coast and the Lebanon mountains. Now, what's really cool is if you look at Cyprus, we see this northeasternmost point points to the top of Phoenicia's boundaries, where its southeasternmost point points to the southern boundary of Phoenicia. Pretty neat, huh? Now, we need to remember, however, that Phoenicia is not going to be a unified nation. Just like the Sumerians that we studied earlier this year, they're going to be a collection of independent city-states. It's just easier to group them all together and call them Phoenicia because they have similar cultural and language ideas. I should have said aspects. Like I said, sick, my brain is not functioning well. Anyways, the most important of these cultural similarities is going to be this reliance on sailing. The Phoenicians are going to be excellent seafarers. Now we have to remember, these are an ancient people, so these feats that I'm about to tell you about are going to be quite amazing. They didn't have aspects of modern technology such as maps, they didn't have GPS, they didn't have any of those things. They used the stars and the currents in the sun. We believe that they sailed past the Pillars of Hercules, which is now the Strait of Gibraltar, meaning they went past Spain into territory that could be considered the Atlantic Ocean. And Herodotus tells us that the Phoenicians were probably the first people to circumnavigate Africa. Now typically we credit circumnavigation of Africa to Bartholomew Diaz, something that wouldn't be repeated until 1488. So we're seeing a group of people that sailed around the Mediterranean around the year 1000 BCE, doing something that isn't replicated another 2,500 years later. I mean, that's pretty wild. Now, the Phoenicians weren't just sailing around for fun, however. They were sailing and setting up colonies. Colonies are going to be little city-states created by the Phoenicians that are going to be tied to the city-states that they're from. So towns eventually growing to cities so that they're able to have stops for their ships, places to trade, and gather raw materials. Two of them that just show the breadth of the Phoenician travel. First off, we have Gades, which is in Cadiz, Spain, and Carthage. Now, Carthage is going to be a name you're going to hear over and over and over again in this class. And you cannot forget, the Phoenicians are the founders of Carthage. More on Carthage later. Now, they didn't sail around and set up colonies just for fun. They did this for trade. They are going to go and be wealthy and excellent traders. They're going to be going all around the Mediterranean Sea, gathering resources and trading. Now, we see a huge list of things here. The most important thing for you to know, though, is the dye. Their purple dye. In fact, their name Phoenician is Greek for purple people. So, the Phoenicians obviously are going to be super invested in trade, especially this purple dye, if the Greeks are going to name them after said dye. Here we see some of the trade networks we have. Once again, going past, we have Tingis here, which is going to be south of the Iberian Peninsula, where Spain is today, going into the Atlantic Ocean, and as we believe, perhaps circumnavigating Africa. Now, their trade was huge, and as they traded, they passed on information. They took civilization with them, and we discussed this in our Egypt unit. The single most important thing the Phoenicians did for the world was they had an alphabet, and then they spread that alphabet all around. So we can thank the Phoenicians for going and giving us our wonderful ABCs. Not directly, as we can see, but the Phoenicians are going to spread that alphabet, and it is going to be a great thing. So, now that we've talked about the Phoenicians, you should know the location of Phoenicia. You should be able to tell me two Phoenician colonies, especially the most important colony that they founded. You need to know where the Phoenicians traded around, what the most important Phoenician trade good was, and lastly, their greatest contribution to the world. Thank you so much for listening. Sorry for the sickness. Can't wait to be back in class.